So, we were reviewing the Type 59D. Now you're probably wondering, oh god, you're reviewing this tank after only a couple of days left on it? Yes, I know. I've been late doing these reviews and stuff, and I've been very tired and other things, busy with other things. So I apologize for not coming back to you, lovely audience, to describe some of the tanks, because there was a lot of them that came out. I tried and tried to get the willpower to do it. I tried to do video of me acting. I just couldn't do it. It was just too much time. I needed more than a couple of days since pretty much I had to do other things. So I had hardly no time to do the Wiz 122 or the other tanks that came out, or the Wiz 111 in the Season Pass. Well, though the Wiz 111 in the Season Pass is already pretty much everybody knows about it at this point, but I will do a video on it, but it won't be like during the season month. Maybe I'll get lucky and I don't know. I'm just giving you a quick update on that, guys. I know the Wiz 122 had mixed opinions, and I will do that again, do a review on it, but again, it won't be like any that time soon or anything, so my apologies, audience. So I'm getting back into the game of things. Well, without further ado, let's talk about this. Now, Type 59D is an Era 3 premium tank in World of Tanks. Obviously, if you can guess by the culture of this is China. Now, I have to say one thing very quickly about this. Out of all the Aero tanks, I have to say that the premiums, we finally have fucking one that can pen shit. I mean, think of its competitors real quick. Now, I have reviewed the MBT-70, which, again, had mixed opinions on it, and I had a perfect thing, and I will leave in the description down below. I won't say too much about it, but let's just say below average of pretty much the play style of an Era 3. Now, the one I didn't talk about was the TCM AGS, which is another premium tier Era 3, which also has its mixed opinions as well. But out of all of them, this tank has enough pen to play its goddamn tier. And all I gotta say to Wargaming, thank you God, because there were so many problems with the other premium tanks that I'm glad that that is justifiable. However, is it a great premium tank? Well, most of you probably already know this by now, and since I'm very late, probably a lot of you know what it's like. But I want to give my fair share, so let's dive right into this Type 59. So, first thing we always talk about when I'm in these type of talking things is the armaments, and oh boy, where do I even begin with this? As you can already tell by the tank with the purple, blue, and all that, it has tons of spatial armor in the front, some spatial armors on the side, and pretty much the turret has these weird triangle things, spatial armors, which you would think that would be great. However, for me playing this so many times, there is one major weak spot for the turret, and that is right here. I will point to it. This problem, minus the commander's hatches, is a major problem, because if you look at it from, let me go to appearance real quick. If you look at it, it's flat, it's got a little opening thing in there, and I know it's rounded, so you probably say, Fury, it's rounded, it can block shit. No, we're talking about Era 3, mind you. Era 3, which the maximum pen I've seen is like 650 to almost 700. So that little rounded armor ain't gonna block it. Now, I don't have video evidence, but I will tell you this. I had a Chieftain Mark, I think it's Chieftain Mark II in the high tiers, pen through that turret like it was nothing. So that's a huge waste. Now, if it had spatial armor all the way around to the front part, yeah, that would be amazing. But it isn't. But the other major problem, too, I have with the tank is it's goddamn always with the Soviet Union and pretty much Chinese tanks is their hull armor. Now, I know American tanks, I say that a lot between the Mombat, the Cat, the, MBT-70 I have reviewed in the past. However, the hull armor here is ridiculously even worse in my opinion. Hell, every time I get hit in the hull armor, I always lose a crew module and stuff. See, like the hull armor is only 100 millimeters, and the front which angle meaning it's 120. But again, that is a problem when you're in Era 3. Now, if this was a Tier 8 premium with that amount of pen, I would say this is fucking godly. This would be like the Type 59 reincarnation back in the old days of World War II. But no, this is beyond bad. Now, you're probably thinking, well, it has spatial armor, Fury. Yeah, only 35 millimeters. And it does work sometimes, meaning it can't be close range, which we'll get to that at the end. The problem why it's great for long range, yes, but you'll see what I mean at the end of this video. But all in all, armor is mediocre. It's got some spatial armor, yes, but it just cannot take a hit from premium rounds that goes right to the turret ring. The whole armor cannot be touched at all. No matter how much spatial armor you see on that tank, it ain't gonna work. So keep that in mind. And also you got the commander's hatch problems, which sticks out either side. So a very accurate gun looking like this at it is going to not easily pen your turret commander's hatch, but if it's a straight middle shot, yeah, that's gonna harm your turret. So even though the armor is mediocrely bad, so what about its gun, Fury? Well, as you can already see from the top screen after all that, you have a 105mm cannon, which is common for late era, you know, like today's era of Chinese and Soviet tanks. Most Soviet tanks uses that type of caliber gun, even to this day a little bit. The reloading is not bad, though. Like, I got it like down to 5.3. If I had combat rigs in this, I could probably get it down to 5 seconds. That's ridiculously fast for a good crew and everything in it. So, not only that, you have a very amazing pen, because if you look at the penetration on that thing, yes, well, I'll go to the other two, the accuracy and the thing, because accuracy, actually, let's say this real quick, because accuracy is like 0.20, which is a very good aim time, but also a laser pointer at certain degrees, and that's actually not bad. Now, damage is 480. I'm going to just tell you the honest truth, because it's not going to give you 480 all the time. I usually do an average roll of either 390 or 410, usually. That's my usually average rolls I do in this tank. So, 480, maybe, but the highest I've ever seen is 460, or if I hit a really light armor tank. Now, penetration at 100 meters is 605. Now, hold the phone. 600 millimeters and 605 millimeters. Now, if you, like I said, if you've seen my video, which I'll leave in the description because it's not a bad video to look at, of the MPT-70, MPT-70 for 100 meters away is only what is it again? I think it's 305. Let me look really quick, audience. Yeah, 350. That's really bad. And then the tank up that is 421 millimeters. So having a gun that does 605 millimeters of pen, really worth it, in my opinion. And it probably, to this date, best penning premium tier 3 I have ever seen in this game. Which, honestly, thank you, Wargaming, for bringing out something that could pen. I mean, jeez, there's a reason why we don't see the MBT-70s or that little tank destroyer no more. So, you see 605, but here's the winner kick. For penetration for 2,000 meters, now if you try to snipe with this, it's even good too, because it's 540 millimeters of pen. However, it won't do good against Abrams a lot, like Abram Mark IIs. Now, Abram Mark IIs, as anyone knows, is my bane of existence between the other two tanks, because if you can't harm an Abram easily, you basically, what the hell are you doing with this tank? Because that's majority of the Era 3s I've seen is just Abrams or T-72 or T-80 BUs or anything like that, T-72 BUs or whatever. So having this gun penetration has a good chance of fucking up Abrams really damn good. Now, I'm not saying you can't fuck up an Abram with an MBT-70. You have to aim for weak spots. The same thing with this, but this one's a little bit more accurate. So you have a better chance of harming an Abram more better than the long aim time of the MPT-70. Sorry, I'm doing like a versus thing, and I should not. We're focusing on the tank theory. Focus on the tank. But I'm just saying that's the bigger difference. Now, ammunition type is APFSDS, and that's premium, and your last one, high explosives. Now, if anyone knows what that type of shell is, it's basically like a little needle thread that shoots and splatters into the armaments like a spearheading arrow, which is not like a high explosive shell, it's not like an anti-HESH shell, it's just like APCR kind of way, but not like, it's more like a modern day of APCR, just a fast moving projectile that's meant to go through, you know, layers upon spatial armor. But just not the exploding part. Now here's the problem I have with the gun. The ammo capacity you carry is only 50. That's a problem. 50 ammo. The less amount of damage. You gotta think, AR-3 tanks have the most health out of mostly any tier. I think even more than the tier 10s almost. So doing like 430 to 480 a damage a hit is going to cause you some problems, people. Because you run out of ammunition, and remind you, you have to switch to premium rounds for certain types of tanks. So meaning you don't have enough ammunition between one or the other tank shells. And that's going to be a huge problem with the tank, in my opinion. But to me, maybe others won't, but to me personally, yeah, it's a big problem. So, gun's amazing, armor is meh. So, what about the rest? Well, you got 3,140 hit points, and that's not too bad, but not good either, but the MPT-70 beats that by a couple of millimeters of health. It totally beats the light tank, but again, that's what you expect. And now, I know what you're all going to think in the comments down below. Now, Fury, this is a medium tank. It's not meant to take, like, heavy brawling hittings and stuff like that. So why are you comparing that to that? Well, it's the problem with the game. Like, I won't waste any time. I'll just wait until the end with it. But let's just say the community of World of Tanks doesn't play by what the tank's rules is sometimes. And that's a huge problem with this tank, but we'll get to that at the end. So your max speed, 61. There's a lot of other tanks that's faster, and that's a big problem. But, again, not bad. Viewing range is 536. There's really no point in it because True Vision, you know, even the concealment, there's no point in it because they're going to see you like 100% of the time. So, what's the point? You're just going to see the outline of the tank, or you be able to lock on to one. I don't know. But to me personally, it just doesn't feel like anything. So, viewing range, we already talked about. The turret rotation is 34.73. This is a major problem with the tank. Head turret turns sluggish average. Like, it's slightly above average turn speed, making the turret just slightly turn. You probably won't notice it if you get used to it, but to me personally, I was like, dang, I played other tanks and it's like, this feels sluggish, like very sluggish. So keep that in mind. If you're going to use this tank, you're probably going to need that perk to help you turn a little bit faster, if you know what I mean, once we get to that part. But that's my point, like, you need that perk for this tank, especially for that. Now, horsepower. You have 730 horsepower, which again, not too bad for a medium tank. And we already talked about the forward speed being 61. Reverse speed is 24. Okay, that may be a little bit of a problem because you know how Abrams, they can go forward and back the same speed to get out of trouble. The MBT has this as well. It's just, to me personally, you're going to have to get used to the slow mechanics of going backwards. So whatever you at in the game, you got to be careful because there is no retreating or easily getting out of there fast in reverse. It's a forward tank, you know, like any Chinese tank. They just push their tanks forward with mass numbers and kill whatever that's there. Welcome to Chinese playstyle. So very slow speed. Whole rotation speed is 48. Now, I didn't find this too much of a problem. It's not too bad, so I'm just going to leave it at that. It's a meh. It's not super fast, but it's okay. And lastly, radio signal 740.59. Sorry, I had my tongue twist there. So, yeah, but the problem is you don't see things very well sometimes in it. So, keep in mind this is, even though you're designed to hold down, stay in the back, use as much armor as can, because, you know, you got the two major weak spots where that little opening viewport is in the front of your tank. You know, that little oval-shaped circle thing. It's like you're gonna have to, like, snipe, but you don't have enough viewing range to see them, so you better trust your eyes knowing you can see pixelated targets. So, after saying all that, now let's talk about the equipment. Now, I put in the equipment that they wanted in Wargaming, which is gun stabilizers, improved ventilation, and accelerating gun reload. Now, to tell you, audience, no, I did not buy the Prime Edition, because everybody keeps on saying, did you buy the Prime Edition with the skin to get this? No, I did not. I had enough silver, as you could tell by the 55 million up there. I just bought the equipment to make sure that I was able to use their equipment to see if it's really true what they say for Wargaming to use. And honestly, yeah. I mean, the equipment makes it better. The reloading is ridiculously quick. So, I can't really complain too much. So, the other problems. I mean, the other things you can put. You don't need shell aim time unless you really want to make this a freaking fast-moving shooter. There's really no point in that. Spav liner, that's a definitely a must if you don't want any of those other equipment. Because, you know, ATGMs is still a thing in this mode. And they do hurt you still. Viewing range, no need, because you're going to see no matter what. Armaments, advanced armaments, definitely. The rest is all up to you, but I would not do. I'll just tell you the things you don't want. You don't want concealment, because, again, you're just going to be seeing that's a waste of equipment. You don't need... Well, the tank does go on fire. Ammo rack, you definitely need that. You don't need horsepower and stuff, because again, the tank feels fast enough, so you don't really need them. I know 61's not too fast, it's not like the speed of an Aram, but you're not a light tank either, so that depends if you want to turn your vehicle into a light tank, but just don't. It's better to pick off people from distance, or better than just going with groups of people to attack. And that's it for equipment. Now, let's talk about the commander. And obviously I got pretty much 3 per commander right now with her, basically her things. So, the 3 perks I picked is obviously the thing you want is rapid reloading, stealthy aim because you want more accuracy, and definitely turret rotation aim because again, I had a problem sometimes shooting. But the one perk I'm investing after I get her perk thing way up there is this one, increase gun rotation speed. That's definitely a perk that's a must. I mean, the rest is all your choice of how you play and play style. Like, that's totally up to you. Don't get the wheel perk, I just saw that. But the rest is all up to you. Clutch braking, you can. It's just you're basically helping the gun. To sum up everything, you want the gun reloading down as fast as possible because, again, if you're a tank with no armor, might as well make as much money as you possible, and we'll deliciously talk about that at the end, how much this makes. But you want to focus heavily on the gun turning, you want the tank to turn better, and for the love of God, protect it, because you're going to get hit, and it's going to hurt you, because the amount of health they have and the less health you have, yeah, you want to be extremely careful. So, yeah, that's for the perk system for the commander. So now, let's talk about the ammunition costs before we get into a game. Now, the ammunition costs for one shell of the APFSDS, sorry, I can never say that anytime fast, is only 420. This what makes it so good. Not only do you have a gun that can pen really well, like I just said, and we already talked about all the penetration stuff, but look how cheap that is. If you can manage to just standardly use your standard shell, you are walking away with so much money. So much money. So keep in mind, the whole point of a premium tank, like I said, is to make money. And boy, does sweet Mary Joseph, this thing makes a lot of money. So keep that in mind. So the only thing I can describe about this shell is the speed is 1,501 miles per second. So very fast shell, but again, like I said, it's a small shell that's meant to go through so much armaments, it's like a needle, pretty much. So that's why it's so fast. But now let's go down to the premium rounds, which sadly you may need for Pacific tanks. And to be honest with you, this one has literally, for penetration at 100 meters, 650. Now for 2,000 meters, 680. That can fuck up an Abram too. Like, that can be almost close depending the turret ring of an Abram too, if it didn't have the spatial part. But for the frontal part, yeah, holy shit, it could pen through that. But again, it's still better chance of odds. But it's 5,600 a shell. I carry only 20 of these because there are some tanks in the game that I have to pen through the highest infrastructure to get through and kill them, because the biggest problem with this tank is aiming for certain weak spots. That's what this tank is designed to do, aim for certain weak spots. But when you got something that is heavily armored charging at you, which we will discuss after this, because oh boy, you need something to overpen that infrastructure or find weak spots, which you can on Abrams, but when you're face-hugging a Soviet and having a hard time penning its strongest parts or weakest parts, sometimes you have to load that to get through it. But the thing I don't pack at all is high explosive. The reason why is because for 100 meters, it's 290 millimeters of pen, same thing with its 500 meters. Now, again, to me personally, there's not many light tanks I've seen. Now, this may change in the future. I'm starting to see more light tanks in Era 3. But the problem is 290? There's not really a lot of tanks besides some Soviets and some Chinese tanks you can pen with that. But that's really a huge gamble to pack some shells like that into that tank. I'm not saying I'm not doubting the shell, but it's just, to me personally, it's just, there's so much spatial armors in those tanks that high explosive would just absorb it, because it just doesn't work. But if you want them, it's 660 a shell, and the max speed is 85, so really slow. Blast radius is 1.9 miles, so it's not like a big, huge improvement. It's not like you're shooting a big fucking T-92 and just go blam somewhere, although that would be broken as hell. But yeah, that's it. So let's go into game and talk about the few problems that I have a problem with this tank and the good things about this tank. So see you in the battlefield. Alright, so my personal opinion on the Type 5090, since you're watching a gameplay right now of a replay of me playing this, and to be honest with you guys, this literally pulled my hair out of my head. Don't get me wrong, like I said, it's a great pending tank, but like I told you, the armaments is getting me killed. This is literally my, I would say, 17th game before I finally had this replay to show decently what the tank is capable of. And the main problem I have with it is, like I said, the armaments. Because, let's face it, even though this tank is designed to flank and hold down and snipe and have a support thing, everybody mosh pits in this fucking game, and nobody talks about this when they review the Type 59D. Everybody goes mosh pit in this tank, and it's so fucking irritating. Now here I am trying to get some shots off, but because of the gun depression of Chinese, it's kind of making me go up on the hill. First shot I fired bounce. But what do you expect? It's an angled, a little bit Abram, trying to hit that one spot, fired again, didn't hit him. It was just, I was just not having a good night. I was literally having so many games, having crap games. In the third shot, I critical him, and then I'm trying to get some shots in, but then somebody tries to shoot me. It's just, I really want to love this tank, I really do, and it's not because of so many people saying it, because I have friends that say, like, oh, the gun DPM, not good. Like, it's not that good. I missed again, by the way. And I'm thinking to myself, what's wrong with the gun? The gun is not the problem. I fucked up Abrams in this. It's just I'm having a hard time sniping because, you know, RNGesus keeps fucking me. So I said, fuck it. I'm going up here and I'm really pissed. And I said, fuck you, Abram. And boom, dead. Pretty much nothing personal against the guy. It's just business in the game. But I was just pissed off. So everybody was saying, like, this tank, like, either really good or really sucks. The problem is, too, is, like, when they mosh pit you, like, look on the north end of the map. Let me pause this for a minute. Let me look up here for real quick while they're driving the tank. There's so many tanks up there. This is what the game is like. Everybody just charges in one side and expect to lose. Now, I knew we were going to probably lose the game, so I said good game because I'm so used to being defeat. And I just had some problem with it. And the other problem I have with the armaments, too, that I did not mention, is every time you take a hit on you, you have a good chance of knocking out your crew every time, and it's just so irritating, like either a module or something. I don't know how that Abram didn't pen me, but I penned that one Abram on the side tracks, and then, boop, penned it again, because, let me give you a lesson, Abrams, do not angle your tank, because then you got tanks like me that could shoot him, unless one of the Abrams decided to block my shots, and I was like, what the fuck, I'm trying to help you. So you can see it's getting really bad. It's like desperately mosh pitting fighting, and that's pretty sad. So this is another strategy you could do besides sniping the tank and hitting weak spots. You see me, like, teaming up with some tanks right now? Like, dramatically teaming up with 1 or 2 tanks or 3 to attack one person. Yeah, that's usually how you play this, because the tank is so weakly in armor. I'm trying to, now I'd be a hero here, I try to shoot him, but then he tries to shoot that guy. I blocked his shot before killing that guy, saving the heavy's ass, but except for the light tank came around and killed him. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So here I am, driving around, trying to shoot him, and boop, right in the asshole of that tank. And I'm not trying to give shit, I really am not, and I'm trying to do commentary, but I really don't like the survivability on this tank. Like, if it's bad enough I have to aim at weak spots, it's even worse when you got a tank that anyone could shoot you. And I had even my most weakest spot pen now. I got shot in the side again, but that's because I was over-angling. But again, I'm at this point of rage. 17 games in of doing crap after crap games because you're always targeted a lot. You're kind of, like, forced to, about this tank. It has no armaments, yeah, but like I said, I'm never going to stop saying that because, Jesus Christ, it gets me killed so many times, and I'm trying to let people to sink in that you don't have armaments to easily block shit sometimes. And, see, I took an ATGM shell, and I fixed my ammo rack, but it was like, oh my god, fuck off, stop trying to kill me. ATGMs, nightmare, ugh, fucking hate them when it's in this tank. But, it's just, to me, personally, like, I want to love it because this Era 3, they finally Wargaming pulled their head out of their ass and brought out a tank that can actually fight in the eras, just has a hard time surviving in this era. Like, if this was an Era 2 with that mini pen, I would say this is the most broken tank I've ever seen. But no, it's Era 3, obviously, but the armaments is just, ugh. So here I am, I penned the underbelly of an Abram, and if you don't believe me, hang on, let me pause it real quick. Because some people were questioning, how did I pen an underbelly of an Abram? Well, there you go. That was standard rounds. I penned the underplate of that. But that was an M1, so that makes more sense than an A2. If I pen an A2 Abram underneath it, holy crap. And obviously the game ends right there and then. So, in conclusion, it's not really a bad tank. it really isn't. It just has some major flaws with the survivability. And after the 17th game, I was just finally happy to show you the reward now, and we could talk about the final verdict right now. Now, here's where I show a little mercy to the tank. Here is the final verdict of that battle. As you can see here, I did 6,269. Not much damage, you would say, in an Era 3, because Era 3s usually do like 9,000 easily. But my friend did like, my friend borrowed the tank for a couple of things, and he did this much damage. Yeah, I let him have my account, and he just wailed on people. But anyway, but like I said, the gun is amazing, and the money earning is amazing. Like, for doing, hang on, sorry, phone call. Anyway, so for doing 17 direct hits, I made like, and doing 6,000 and that much damage, I made 222,837. Without premium, I would have made 138,654. This is the key factor if you want this tank or not. Despite the fact the armorability is downright an F, and the gun, it can be amazing if you aim at certain weak spots on certain heavy tanks, this makes money. Even when I fucked up, even when I walk away with barely any pen, I still walk away with nearly 87k. That is fucking amazing. And the only reason I'm trying to not give this tank so much shit of its survivability, because I already know the gun is amazing on this tank. This tank can do a lot of damage if you use it right. But the problem is, again, armaments. So you get 5,826 XP, free XP is 186, and Commander XP 8,012. Again, let me retaliate. There is no boosters. No boosters on this tank. So what you're seeing is the reward I got. If I had boosters, I would probably be making millions right now. But no, these are no boosters on this tank whatsoever. Now for the medals, I only got Massification Class 2. Again, like Chunks, he did pretty good. So I can't say that the tank is bad. It's just me. But I'm just saying from experience, it's kind of hard to keep alive. Really hard. Now, on the leaderboard, shocked me. I'm on the top. I'm like, what? You mean to tell me the M1A2 Abram that did 10,576 damage, I beat him with that? Like, how? How did I... Wargaming makes no sense. I should be in second place, but instead, I'm in first. So, I can't really argue, can't really complain. Got some good kills, had some fun at the end, but that night I was just fuming. Like, you couldn't talk to me. I was that pissed. I had to even go to War of Warships for a little bit and then come back to tanks because of how much. Alright. Sorry. Getting off track. Let's go.
So, final verdict. Now, you're probably wondering or saying to yourself or typing in the comments about what I just said in that game about the armaments survivability. And yes, I am aware. There is many tanks in this game that has no armaments but still fun to play. For example, one of the prime example, CDC of the French tank tier 8. Now I know that tank has a, no armaments, no chance of taking any hits, and it's a big, huge tank. However, people like it. Now, I'm not saying that everybody is going to agree and disagree with this tank. In fact, in all my years of reviewing tanks for you lovely audience, this is the one tank I can't give a straight answer. Now, usually when people talk about tanks to me to see if it was good or not before doing the video, I say no or yes to it because I know their play style or sometimes knowing the tank's capabilities. This is the first time ever that I have a hard time saying that this tank is for you, this tank is not for you. Because, let's recap real quick again. It has mediocrely armor that gets penned all the time or gets killed easily.
or it freaking like gets crew ammoed and stuff very easily. Now, I didn't show it in that video, but trust me when I say that many games, someone gets killed in that tank because they're dealing with big boy guns. Now, the pros of it is it's a ridiculously fast gun that you can aim at point modules or little points of weakness and do so much damage to them. And having that 5-second reload, having 605mm pen up close or 585 in the back, that is ridiculous how much money you can make. But I have to stand my point saying, like, for an Era 3 player, like I just said, everybody in Era 3 just mosh pits each other and just goes in, going and tackling one another, not realizing that some tanks can't do that. I definitely can't do it with this tank because this tank would get easily killed. Can't do it in the MPT-70, even though if I can face hug to block some shells, I cannot do that up close. Is how crappy sometimes the pen is. I'm kind of scared to do that. So, to be honest with you, yeah. Anyone can argue me saying, yeah, staying in groups and flanking targets, penning them every time when they're being distracted is the one way to do this gameplay. However, people are going to wake up and realize and see this tank, since a lot of people do get this tank, because I'm not bumped into not one or two, but nearly I've bumped into like 50 people that bought this tank. And it's always the same thing. It's either they're in groups of people and survive and do really good, or if they're by themselves, they're getting steamrolled, they get steamed over really, really hard. And I'm seeing a little bit less and less of these tanks now. And it's a shame. It's really a shame, because of all the Era 3s up to date, I'm holding all of them right now until I see whatever next Era 3 there is. This is obviously the best penning gun Era one out of all of them. Now, granted, yes, that's not fair to say that the MPT-70 is not a good tank because of its pen, but to me, 350mm of pen of normal rounds and ridiculous long aim time with, not aim time, reloading for the ATGMs is ridiculous. And even though I didn't review this tank yet, let's just say that it beats it by a mile when it's pen when it comes to that. Even though this isn't a 10 clip shot or 8 clip shot. I don't remember which one, but we'll talk about that if you want me to do a review on that. This tank has okay pen, but just not really good for the Era 3. This is the only tank I can say right now that the Era 3 premiums that has a chance of fighting some tanks, and it's beautifully good. So, final verdict. Let me go to the store real quick to show you the gold. Not past that tank, but let's just go here. Type 59, 19,450 gold for all of this. And do not get the Prime version. Do not get the Prime version. I'm sorry to say that for anyone who wants to have all those boosters and things, but trust me when I say this. If you play it right, like I said, and show and see all the pros and cons and work and to fix that if you want this tank, what I said, then you can try to fix what, those problems I said. You can make this a money-making tank. You don't need to spend that much gold for all this, because even if you want the skin, there's a 15,650 gold. Don't get the loaded, because again, unless you want boosters, but I really, really don't. And if for those who would just be like me, that not care about the skin, because skin's kind of useless in Cold War, because what are you going to hide? It's True Vision. You can get this model, which is 14,400 gold. So, honestly, with the skin and all that, I'm going to split it up to 2 ratings. Now, just the tank itself. Just the tank. We're talking about just the tank itself. I would have to give it a, for good pen, decent, not decent armor, has some problems, but has some pros, nearly 50-50 kind of average. I'm going to say a 7 out of 10 for me, to be safe. Now, you're probably thinking, that's not high compared to most people saying, like, must own, must say, but hear me out. Like I said, the only thing that's saving this is the price of the gun and its gun pen. That is all that's saving it. The gun is amazing for Era 3 for this type of tank if you aim at certain weak spots. Granted, it's not going to be shoot anywhere, point, click kind of tank. No, this is a tank that has to really aim at weak spots. But even if you get past all that and actually do, like I said, and actually avoid getting shot, this thing makes a lot of money.
Sorry about that, folks. The phone call rang.
Now, for the Ultimate Bundle, if anyone bought them,
you bought the Primal thing, I'm going to say a 5 out of 10.
You may say you might find use out of it, but that's way too much gold for someone that wants to just get the tank with the skin. There's many ways to do that. I don't even know if you could just buy the standard tank to get the skin, but honestly, I personally think if you just want a tank and just get the tank, don't waste so much more money. Not on Wargaming. If you like the skin, fine, but to me personally, even if you got the skin that it's showing right now, I don't blame you, because honestly, at this point, I don't even like the skin that much. It's just, to me, wastes of money, but I had to try to review it, but I'm late on it, obviously. But to me personally, it's just not worth all that gold. I mean, you're trying to save some for the next season pass, or trying to get the season pass if you're trying to do the thing, and then it's just, this is dumb. But that's my opinion. To be honest with you guys, I mean, this Era 3 tank is amazing out of all of them, but that's not saying much out of my mouth. Granted, yes, anyone can say this tank will be amazing, this tank is the best out of any Era 3 tanks, which, gladly so, they're right. However, I can't see myself playing this forever. Or any other tank, for that thing matter. Because why? Because of how bad the armaments are, and it's labeled as a medium tank, and how the brawling pit fight, mosh pits, bumping each other, fucking gladiator fighting close range quarters. Honestly, if another Era 3 comes out with better armaments and just suffers a little bit of pen, like, 550, this tank will be collecting dust, in my opinion. Now, granted, I'm not disowning anyone who has it, and if they love it, fine. But to me personally, to be you guys and mine, I just can't see myself keeping this tank forever. Because honestly, it just feels like it's got so many problems, but it has pros better than any Era 3 premium I've seen. But if another one comes out that's better than this, I'm just going to say right now that I will be playing that next Era 3 a lot more if it's better than this tank. But until then, I hope this guys help you. I hope it satisfies you. I know I'm late as ever, but I'm back, and I'm going to try to get back into reviews and tanks and stuff like that. But just leave down in the comments below, like, do you want to see more acting, which is going to take a lot of time doing, which I tried to do for the Type 59, but I was really late. Or you want videos like this, straight to the narrow point, and quickly print out the video so that way you guys can know if it's good or not before it goes away. It's your choice, guys. Let me know in the comments down below, and thank you so much for watching this video. Until then, comrades, I will see you in the next tank review. Bye, guys.